not too far. It's just, hey, Roy and Dawn. Yeah, hi, how you doing?
Good.
Yeah, great. We just, we're talking about Charles has gotten a offer to work at a resort in Maine, and now he's also has possibility of going to one in Idaho. And we were just saying that if you were locked up in a closet for 12 years, or you were locked up at Priest Lake in Idaho for 12 years, what do you think there would be any difference between the two people? You know, I don't know. I think it's a great opportunity, really. You know, Charles is Charles had a dream. I was going to do. Gary's not feeling well again, but Charles, do you remember the dream that you had?
The one
that we talked about last time, or?
Yeah, I have it right here.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe if Dawn or Roy have a dream too, we can get on that. I was all ready for Gary's dream, but Gary says he's just been feeling some fatigue, you know, and you know, that's fine. No problem. But anyway, I know Charles always has. We had a very good discussion of Charles' dream, you know. And are you getting it, Charles, or?
Yeah, I have it right here. I just wanted to see if.
Oh, you can put it in the chat or something.
Had one that you wanted to share.
Yeah, I was really, you know, happy with that. That last lecture that Young did on the visions, which really was revelational to me, to link that the most important thing we can do is to link up with the body. I mean, her problem was she was, you know, up in the thinking function. Everything has to, her whole process is to link with the body, you know, and the primordial. I mean, she's two goats. I mean, everything's linking up with the instinctive. And wait till you read the first chapter of Puer Aeternus. God, it's unbelievable. So creative. You know, I was just going to read you about, maybe while you're looking for that, Charles, I'll just read you one little line from it. How you been doing, Roy?
I'm good.
Yeah, great.
I'm going to send you a dream too.
Oh, great. Yeah, if you have one, let's. Yeah, if you have one, let's. That'll give us everything. And Dawn, if you have one, too. I mean, we might as well just keep busy here. I'm just gonna show you this. I mean, this is just kind of interesting. You know, I don't know if you know the book of the Little Prince, but there's you know, he draws a picture of a boa constrictor that swallowed an elephant, you know, and he shows people the picture of it, and everybody says, well, that just looks like a hat, you know, and see here's the boa constrictor. I don't know if you can see. Oop, I ruined it. Well, it's just a boa constrictor with the elephant in the middle. It looks like a hat. And she, yeah, you know, this is just, it's funny. It's mysterious. It's just going to be a really fun book. But anyway, Charles, do you have your dream ready, or?
I'm typing it right now.
Okay, go ahead. All right. Well, Roy, why don't you send us your dream?
Okay, I'm doing that right now.
Are you going to email it to me?
Yes, I am.
Oh, you got it. The dream of the blue car.
Yeah, I got to put it in. I forgot to put it in.
Okay, sure. No problem.
Okay, here goes again.
All
Let's
right.
see what happens here. Paste.
Oh yeah, here we
I'm
go.
trying to make it bigger, but I can't, but you can be.
Okay,
able to
well, why
read
don't you just keep trying? I think he's got his
it.
dream
Okay.
typed in.
See if you got it now.
All right, let's see here. Send, receive. Okay,
Yeah.
send, receive, all folders. There we go. Yep, it's there. Okay,
I was
I'm
trying
gonna,
to make the print bigger, but
that's okay.
it didn't do it. So,
It will lose it when we go here. So anyway,
okay.
why
Anyway,
don't
you
we
got it.
start with Charles' dream?
No,
'Cause
I
we,
just put one in the pipeline there. So
yeah.
you got it.
Okay. Well, just the only reason is that we've already kind of got Charles' dream started here.
Sure.
Yeah. All right. So, Charles, do you want to just read the dream, or would you like me to? Go ahead. Oh, okay. Well, you want me to read it, Charles?
Yeah, I'm just typing the last bit of it
Okay.
here.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll start with the
Okay.
first part. Okay. Now, the dream ego's taking a train to northern Idaho. Was almost at the station, was looking out the window, and there were a few structures along the track. One was a beautiful stone church. Another one was Gothic, a Gothic tower. And one was a church of red. It was a cube, really, wasn't it? A cube that, I should give you a picture of it. He sent me a picture of it. Let's see here. Now, this is a very interesting dream, and I actually mentioned this, Charles, in our little episode, because it was. I just what I really liked about it was its the fact that it was so. Let me see if I can get this just to be light highlights. Let's see, there we go. Shadows, color, temperature. Okay. All right, and save. Okay. All right. So anyway, what we're going to have here, at least, is the picture of the. Oh, you've got it. Okay, great. Okay, so you were taking a train to northern Idaho. You're looking at. You're almost at the station, so he's still in the train. And he's looking out the window of the train, and there's a few. This was a city of beautiful buildings. There were a few structures along the track. One was a beautiful stone church. Another one was a Gothic tower, and one was what it really. Charles, you described it as a kind of a cube that was had been cut in half and had a
The left
diagonal. Like,
the
is this
left
pretty much what it is on the left here?
Yeah, that's what it is on the left.
Yeah. Yeah, that kind of gave me a little better idea. Okay. And all of the structures were in a beautiful green field with mountains and a beautiful town. I went into a house, but I didn't want to be seen. My classmates were there. Okay. The house belonged to a guilty or bad person, a man. Later, we were all in a classroom together. It was like a garage or for shop class. All the other boys were standing up and introducing themselves. They would stand and strike a martial arts pose and say something about themselves. The dream ego is nervous and embarrassed. And when it was its turn, it stood up and did a karate or kung fu stance and said, "I hope I just don't get male pattern baldness." Okay. Now, this is a very interesting dream, particularly because Charles had gotten a possible offer to go to Priest Lake, Idaho, and take a job there as working there as a helper at the resort during the vacation season, and it's a wonderful, wonderful resort. Priest Lake, I believe I've been near there. I'm sure Tim's been there too. It was it is a place that is I believe it's just northern Idaho. Though, if it's where I think it is. It's just west of Glacier National Park, in the panhandle of Idaho, and it's just this most beautiful drive. You just drive down south, and then you go to Priest Lake, and it's almost level with Kalispell, as far as where it is, near the Canadian border. But anyway, so he's taken the train to northern Idaho. He's almost at the station. He's looking out the window. It's a beautiful. It's a city of beautiful structures, but there were three structures that were particularly noteworthy. One was, go ahead. Oh, one was a beautiful stone church. Another one was a Gothic black tower, and the third was really a cube. It was actually a meditation center, kind of, don't you think, Charles?
Yeah, it was like a strange altar almost.
Yeah, strange altar. And it was just a place to pray. And all the instructions were in a beautiful green field with mountains in the background. Got off the train, went into the beautiful town, went into a house. They didn't want to be seen. My classmates were there. Then this next one's Roy's dream. And then the house belonged to a guilty or bad person, a man, and later we were all in the classroom together, but it was like a garage for shop class. All the other boys were standing up and introducing themselves. They would stand and strike a martial arts pose and say something about themselves. The dream ego's nervous and embarrassed. When it was its turn, it stood up and did a karate kung fu stance and said, "I just hope I don't get pattern baldness." Okay. So anyway, let's just go through this one real quick. Because again, Tim, yeah, I just FYI, Tim or Charles, you possibly could get a job in a place like this. Okay. It isn't for sure, but it's possible. Okay. So now we are going into paradise. See, I think one thing that about this place, at least in Charles' psyche, is this is a place of healing, of getting away from the almost the prison that ego's in. Like I ask him, what would be the difference of someone living at on Priest Lake in Idaho for 12 years, or lived 12 years in a closet in St. Louis? It's going to have a different effect on psyche for sure, But so it sort of represents a paradisal situation. Now we're taking the Amtrak train there, I believe. And now when we get there, we look out the window and there's three structures. Now these three structures are very similar to the structures that the woman in Gerhard Adler's book of the Living Symbols saw. She saw three churches. One was a great cathedral. One was a small church for ordinary people that was right outside that the men liked. She was with three men, and that's the one they liked. And then there was a third church that was run by a very venerable woman, and it was just trees. Well, she didn't choose any of them. Okay. Now, these three churches, there's one that's a conventional cathedral. Okay. It's this place of the spirit. These other two, the first one is similar to that umbilical cord under the stage that Charles had in his last dream. has the same material, he said, sort of a red velvet. And if you see, it is really in the shape of a vessel. So it's almost like the feminine vessel.
So is the illustration we're looking at this dream?
Yes, this is his dream. These are two of the three structures. Okay. Now this one, and Charles, I'm just adding some details that you told me last time, so tell me if I'm getting them wrong. But this altar is full of things like this: spirals, ancient sun wheels, which you would call swastikas. There was angel wings. Feathers from angels' wings. Relics from old saints. What else? Do you remember of anything else that was in there, Charles?
I just remember it just being just generally loaded with sacred relics and
almost infinite amount, right?
Yeah,
it was like no end.
I couldn't really measure or see all of them. I just knew that it was just filled with them.
Just incredibly rich. Okay. But it seems to represent, it's feminine. Let's put it that way. It is a feminine, it almost represents a yoni shape. And so it has a generative quality. Now, people go in there just to meditate in the feminine temple, really. And now, the one on the right is a tower. So this is a more masculine tower, but it is very stark in comparison to the red church or the red altar. Now, was the Holy Grail in there or the Grail in there?
No, but I sort of associated it with that same and indescribably sacred, numinous sort of power.
Yeah. So this feminine place, the place of redness, the place of the feeling function, is just has no end to images and psychic objects. Okay. Then we come to the Black Tower. Now, the Black Tower looked like it had somehow been damaged, correct? Can you describe it? It looked like it had almost been built and then was crumbling.
Yeah, it's as if like the top was crumbling and it was sort of incomplete.
Yeah, okay. So it seems to be like what we're seeing here is the masculine and the feminine altars. And in the case of the masculine altar, it is not rich, and it's in a very primitive, almost unused ruins, compared to this other one, which is just so incredibly rich and full of so many psychic events, psychic objects. And then there's the third church, which is kind of this neutral church, which is is not particularly identified with the feminine or the masculine. That's the first scene of this dream. Okay. And that's pretty much it.
In the illustration, what's the one on the right?
That is the Black Tower. It has little crosses on the top. It is.
So that's is that the masculine tower you talked about?
Yes.
Okay,
it's
so
the phallic.
The first one is the Yoni temple.
Yeah.
The second one is the
more phallic. Yeah. It's more phallic temple. A tower.
I see two in the illustration. I'm hearing three descriptions.
Yeah, then there's also just a regular church.
Yeah, there's three buildings.
I did not draw.
Yeah, he didn't draw the regular church, which was just a
Okay.
beautiful stone church.
Yeah.
But so you got the beautiful stone church, then you have this very it's very used. Now, can you describe, you had some description of the people that you saw in there. Do you remember anything about them, the ones that you saw in the altar, the feminine altar?
No, not really.
Not
It's
really.
like I could almost imagine people being there, but they weren't
Okay.
exactly there.
But there was definitely nobody in the Black Tower. It had
Right.
little crosses, tiny little
It
crosses on the
didn't look
top.
like you could go into the Black Tower.
No, it was just a tower. And so it's in contrast to the red feeling function. It's black, sort of stark, and looks like it's been ruined somehow. So anyway, in the paradisal, the paradise place of paradise, there's these three churches, at least that the dream ego notices. Okay, scene 1. Okay, then we go to scene 2, and that is where oh, okay, well, they were in a beautiful green field with mountains in the background, and then he gets off the train in the beautiful town, and he goes into a house, but he didn't want to be seen by my classmates there. So now that's interesting. I mean, for some reason, the dream ego feels a little inadequate in this place, and doesn't want to be seen yet. Okay. Now, Charles, do you remember any description of why you would want to hide or not be seen? Do you remember anything?
Not exactly, but it seemed like that I was like the visitor and I was coming from out of town and they were all already there. And so
Mhm.
I was the only new kid, I guess.
Yeah, and you were trying to, I guess if in my own case, if I was doing that, I just was not ready. This is just how I would feel. I'm just not ready to extrovert yet. I mean, I just would not be ready to extrovert right at this point. I like to kind of get settled first before I start socializing. But there's probably a deeper meaning than that, you know. Now, this house belonged to a nefarious person, okay, who, who was guilty of something, doesn't say what, but anyway, he's a person who is not approved of by the collective consciousness. So he's a sort of a nefarious character, so the house is a nefarious character. Now that's scene 2, and that's pretty much it. But what the one thing it tells us that the students at this place don't seem to mind staying at the house of this neutral or nefarious character who's not approved of by the straight world. Let's say that, that it's a place that the straight world looks down on. Now that's the second part of the dream. So first is the three churches. Second is that the students there live in sort of this middle realm. Nothing relate. They're completely unrelated to these three sacred places. Okay, this is not a sacred place. This is a place of somebody who's very, sort of middle realm, at least, if not on the other side. Okay, that's the second scene. So we got the first scene of the three sacred places. Second scene, the classmates here all live in the house of someone who is rejected by that world. Okay, and then the third scene is he is in a shop class. So he's in a place of people who are learning the arts of the sensate function. They're learning how to be carpenters or something. Now, each one of these people introduces himself, strikes a martial arts pose, and then says something about themselves. Like they say, what would they say, like, Charles? They'd say, I like computer games, or something like that, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, just whatever it is they like, you know. And but they were pretty very confident, you know, very confident people. Okay, and they were seemed to be real sensates. They strike a heroic pose. Okay, so they're showing that they're you know, they are aligned with the father world of the hero journey. Okay, you know, they're just they strike these heroic poses. Okay, now it comes to Charles' turn to say something. And what he says is, he doesn't know what to say, strikes the pose, and he says, I just hope I don't get male pattern baldness. Okay. Now what this means, you know, Charles and I talked about a little bit, and then I'm going to stop talking, is that you know, Charles is, yeah, you know, he's got a nice head of hair. He's feels like he's not too old. You know, in other words, male pattern baldness would be then too old to connect with the feminine world or find a you know, a male pattern baldness. By that time, it mean I am so old I can't be a proper mate for a woman anymore. I will be rejected by the feminine. You know, um, so what he does is just stands up and says, I just hope that I am I don't become someone who is not considered a likely mate for the feminine world. Now, that's kind of a stupid way to put it, don't you think, Charles? Could you put it in a different way?
Well, I think one of the main points was that, like, you know, I don't want anything that would indicate that I'm old
Yeah.
or
Too old. Yeah.
yeah.
And you're getting a little
Everyone
older.
in the dream was kind of young,
Yeah.
pretty young. So it was like I almost didn't want anything that would kind of mess with my what's the word I'm trying to find? Identification with the Puer archetype. And I didn't want, like, you know, I want to be accepted, and that you know, the only thing that I have going for me is my looks.
And your youth.
Yeah, my youth. Yeah.
So you just say, what you're really saying is, I just hope I don't lose my youth, because then what's going to happen? I mean, you know, it's the old story. I told this before, but in the fairies have everything. You know, they got food, they never die, they never get sick. By the way, I read that thing Dawn wrote about what those martial art poses mean. It's pretty good. But anyway, the fairies have everything, but they do lack one thing. They say they steal babies. They steal human babies, and they leave a wizened old elf there in its place, which assumes the role of the baby, and it's called a changeling. And then they bring the baby back to the fairy hill because the one thing they lack is the promise of youth. Okay. And that's the one thing the divine does not have. What doesn't the divine world have? It doesn't have the promise of youth. So what does it need human beings for? It needs them because it lacks the promise of youth. Okay. Well, this is what Charles is afraid of losing, is the promise of youth. Because once you've kind of went past a certain age, and we're going to find this in the puer aeternus. What is the great problem of the puer aeternus? The magical world of their youth, they don't want to lose it in the adult world. And so they have to make a decision or find a way to incorporate it in the adult world or not enter the adult world at all. That's the dilemma of the puer aeternus. And what he's saying here right now is that I don't want to lose my youth. Anyway, that's a start on the dream. We've got those 3 sections of the dream. And I think, it's just funny that when you break them down like that, they start to seem a little connected. Roy, do you have any comments about it? And then we'll see what Tim says. I'm going to read what Dawn said here again, too. But go ahead,
Yeah.
Roy.
I was thinking about, you said that the Black Tower was masculine, and the regular churches, didn't really catch Charles' interest. And of course, the Red Church is feminine and caught his interest big time. It was very numinous. That kind of reminds me of the hamster boat, the place that Charles goes and is sacred, his temenos inside himself. Then when he gets to the place, it's like he goes to a masculine house where they do masculine things, shops, garage. He feels, he doesn't feel comfortable there at all. He doesn't have anything very nice to say about it. And the baldness might refer to what happens to the pure. When he matures as a man, he has to sacrifice that. And it seems like, he's up against the world of the masculine, but he's not going to go into Black Tower. And he kind of unwillingly went into this house with a nefarious man and experienced some masculine rituals.
He's got the unbelievably magical world that he encounters when he comes into town. He's got this place of transition. Then he's got the place of the totally mundane. No magic there. What do you think, Tim?
The first thing that strikes me is we've got like 3 different aspects of the psyche. And the first one is the spiritual aspect, where there's this choice to be made between the 3 alternatives. And the second one is the social, where the ego is obviously introverted and a little bit unsure about coming out into that world. And then the third one seems to be either professional or practical, and is about how the ego personality is going to measure up against all these other, they're male characters, right? Are there
Yes,
any
they
female
are.
characters?
Yeah.
Okay. So it kind of strikes me as like a mating posture between the males. There's this display, and I think of an animal in this regard, like a bird or a buck, displaying so that the others know what they're up against, I guess, in a battle. And And the ego is saying, I don't want to just follow the regular pattern of moving out of being virile. I don't want to just dry up and become irrelevant or infertile or past my prime, or just develop the way everybody else does. You know, the male pattern baldness is so passé. You know, I want to do it differently.
Male patterned.
Right. And yeah, that phrase male pattern is what I think of as even I don't want to do this the way my father did it, or his generation, or everybody else does it. I want to come up with something new.
It's a fabulous pun, don't you think?
Yeah. Right,
about this shop class
right.
and the prison that it would be. Yeah, that's wonderful, Tim. I mean, you nailed it. You got the first is the magical world. This is the world that Charles seems to have the most affinity for. And then, as Tim says, the second one is the social. And it's not in a magical place at all. And the ego's not comfortable here at all. It's fascinated by the first three. Here, it just wants to hide. The third thing is what everybody, like Roy was saying last time, the superego tells Charles, you know, to go get a job, you know, fit the male pattern. And the dream ego says, I just hope I don't fit the male pattern. You know, I don't want the male pattern. You know?
Yeah, and one way that I think
I'm going to lose my youth. But go ahead, Tim. I'm
one
sorry.
way I think it fits in with the other dreams is that it feels to me like Charles is sort of looking for his place in the world, and the alternatives that are offered are really not all that attractive. But here's this sacred feminine place that is full of richness and depth and seems to be more fascinating. And there's a open entrance as opposed to the tower where there's no clear way to get in. And all of that feels very inviting. You know, that's in the whole landscape of this dream, that's the place I want to go back to. That's the place I want to explore. So it seems like that's where the open invitation is.
What do you think, Roy, after hearing that? Because that's so great. I mean, the energy of the three places.
I was trying to say the same thing, so I don't have, you know, it's exactly what I was trying to say, but it was in a different way, more abstract probably.
Yeah. Well, could you repeat it? Oh, go ahead, Tim.
Well, I would just add that the comment that Don made, you know, talking about this,
that's so beautiful.
Word, the kai, that seems to fit in too, because here's this display, and there is both this declaration, this is who I am, and there's also this kind of empathy or an openness to relationship. And I just think that's a wonderful attitude to apply to the dream, whether or not Charles ever made that association. It helps illuminate the possibilities of interpretation.
A short shout of energy and mood, which is an emphatic marker. Okay, I mean that's what it said there, and good research, Don. That's great.
Yeah.
But what the dream ego just says is, I don't want to fit the male pattern, you know, and lose my magic from my youth. You know, now this is just a perfect statement of the problem of the puer. The puer, the magic of the youthful puer how do you incorporate that in the shop class? How do you incorporate that in this neutral place with no, I think the one thing you can say about the place that's owned by the guilty man is, first of all, it's male. Secondly, it's not sacred, you know. So how do you put the magic that the puer in us sees in this paradise place with the green mountains, the green, how does it describe it? Just the green, let's see, in the structures in a beautiful green field with mountains in the background. That beautiful place. So this sort of describes the place where the puer resides. Okay. Now, the problem is, how do we incorporate the place where the puer resides into the adult world? And the two adult worlds Tim outlined, the first one is the social adult world, and the second one is the vocational adult world. How do we do that? You know, it seems hard, if not impossible. Roy, could you just restate what you said originally, just taking into account some of the points Tim raised?
Yeah, I just fast-tracked it to,
Yeah.
He doesn't want to deal with the masculine. He doesn't
Yes.
want to deal with the Black Tower. And
Mhm.
and he went to a house, was sort of a place where there's masculine rituals.
Mhm.
And of course, that he wasn't happy being there.
Yeah, you know, one thing about another thing we're going to learn in this first lecture of the Puer Aeternus is that the puer, the reason it can't relate to the woman in the outer world is because no one lives up to the mother, the image of the feminine being that's encountered in the place of bliss. You know, none of them fit up to that thing. And of course, the magic of those other worlds is there isn't any. You know, so it really, this is just a wonderful puer dream. You know, now
I would add that there really isn't anything much attractive about the kind of masculine options here. And I would kind of repeat what Roy said, the tower, I don't know if it's not that Charles doesn't want to deal with it, but that there's nothing attractive there. There's nothing really kind of vital. And that's one of the problems I have with the masculine world is that, or not the masculine world, but the patriarchal world, is that everything is reduced to these sort of transactional values. And maybe what's being stated by the unconscious is, you know, the rich fields are not in that place. The rich fields are at Priest Lake, where the growth and the feminine fertility is available. And all this stuff about the masculine pattern of posturing and, you know, doing the sort of expected thing just is not all that attractive.
no, yeah. And Charles, could you describe that Black Tower again? The way you described it to me before you drew it, it's unfinished on one side. It's just in ruins, isn't it?
It's as if it kind of was taller before, but maybe it had gotten like the top half of it like knocked down, and that it's kind of very rough on top with a bunch of small crosses, and that it, you know, it's made up all of these smaller pillars, and that it was like a black polished stone, and I don't know, it's kind of mysterious looking.
But it's inert, isn't it? I mean, like Charles and Roy are saying. I mean, Roy and Tim. It's just inert. I mean, how would you describe it as a living place of? I mean, first of all, it's a black tower. Do you think there's any? It has little crosses on the roof.
Hmm.
So, what do you think its purpose is?
I really don't know.
I can give you one guess: is anything high up is so you can have a high point of view and look down. So it sort of represents the logos world, you know. So you can go up to a high place and then look down in it. I think, did we lose Roy? Let's see if we did. I don't know. Roy might have dropped off. But anyway,
yeah, I also think of the kind of the ruins of the dogmatic faith that has been built up over centuries, and a lot of that stuff is just fallen apart.
Mm-hmm.
We see that how passe some of that stuff has become. This business of the mainline Catholic dogmatic faith just being not up to the task of the modern world, and there needs to be some other element. And that feels to me like a crumbling tower that at one point was very polished and very sturdy and tall, and now is kind of fallen apart because it's not able to incorporate the complexities of the modern world.
No, it is. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, it is. So we got the three towers, and I would say now let's just go like this. One of the things that it has been presented to Charles is that he's going to possibly go to a place like this, or he has an opportunity to go to a place like this. So now the Psyche's responding to him and saying, okay, this looks like it's a possibility that of a solution. Oh, good, Roy. Are you okay, Roy? Yeah, okay. Well, I just wanted to go over this with you, Roy, because because you are good. I think you and Stuart were good, and Gary were good father figures, better than me. I give everybody a lot of slack. But anyway, Charles was possibly offered a position like this to work in Priest Lake in Idaho, and leaving his closet in St. Louis and going there. Okay, so now the Dream Ego is responding. Okay, let's say you go to Priest Lake in Idaho. What you're going to find there is what you have here too, is you're going to find out that you have the magic of your that you encountered in your paradisal world, because you're actually going to the paradisal world. Now you're actually going to be there. It's going to have a little bit more reality than it did when it was just up here. Okay, you're actually going to it's going to be a little more relevant. It's there's the magical part of it, but you have two other parts that you need to deal with, and that is the social world. And thank you, Tim, that was wonderful. The social world and the vocational world. So linking those three things together, and then what does the magical world tell us about linking those other two together? You've got the inert and ineffective male aspect in the inner world, and the unbelievably rich feminine aspect. But the problem with the feminine aspect is, if you look at the drawing, as you move in, it gets tighter and tighter and tighter. Now, can you, isn't that what you told me, Charles? What did you tell me about that? Now, remember too, the umbilical cord, or the, when you went in to the, to that red thing now, under the stage, can you describe that too?
It was just seemingly infinitely large and complex, and that there are all these pathways to the right, and I inspected a couple of them, but I knew that if I really started to explore it, I could get lost forever.
Now, what about the going into the red altar? If you just kept going in, didn't you say something? But it gets very tight in the middle, or
In this dream, or in the dream?
In this dream. In this dream.
Oh no! It just like it just kind of, I just said, grows narrow and like reaches the corner of the cube.
Okay, just gets very narrow in the middle, at the end of the cube. But so there is this problem with the, what do you think your relationship was with the red cube and the black tower? I mean, as far as, and the stone church. What would you think, if you're going to rank them in your in how amazed you were by them, how you would rank them?
It was pretty up there. These were definitely more of the numinous and kind of vivid.
Which one did you like the best, and which the least?
Definitely the altar.
You like the altar the best?
Yeah, because it just had this, I mean, I could just tell that it was like a holy site, and it was really numinous. And the black tower was really fascinating, and you know, very intriguing, and I just found it really interesting. But it didn't have, it was very mysterious. Black Tower is very mysterious.
Not inviting, really. Do you think it was stark in some ways, or?
I don't know if I would use that word exactly, but I was curious about it. Yeah, it was kind of
very
strange.
Mysterious, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, very mysterious. So it is. Yeah, well, they both have a mystery, a magical quality, then, you know, and they activate, both of them activate. So anyway, I'm going to try to sum up the dream, and then I'd like maybe Roy and Tim to do it too. That we're going. There's a possibility of us going to Idaho. The dream maker is aware of this in opportunity. So it sends us this dream, and it says, yeah, we can go to Idaho, and what we're going to find. This is
a real possibility, right?
Yes, actually, he's waiting for the answer right now.
Oh man,
he's been given an offer in Maine, but before he takes that one, he would prefer to go to pre-psych. I mean, okay, I'm putting words in his mouth. I would prefer to go to pre-psych.
Yeah.
Okay, but anyway, so the dream maker, you know, on top of things, sends him this dream. Yeah, you can go to Idaho, and what you're going to find there is the same thing you got here. You're going to find a magical aspect to your life, okay, which is dominated by the mysterious masculine, of which you know very little, and yet is fascinating. And the mysterious, the attractive and inviting and unbelievably rich feminine world in the magical realm. okay? That's what you're going to find there, because that's what you have here. Maybe there it's going to be a little more manifest, okay? But then you also have the same thing you have here. You have a social world which you hide from, and you have a vocational world which you're thinking, if you don't get into it very soon, that you're going to be too old to go into it at all. And yet it's the male pattern. So, which is a wonderful pun on that. So I think the dream is saying, yeah, you know, the only thing I would say, I don't think the dream maker is saying don't go, but I'm just saying it says that, you know, you can run away halfway across the world, but the problem when you get there is you're still there, you know. It would have been nice if you could have left yourself back in the other side of the world, and when you get there, you're not there, you know. So, I mean, anyway, Roy, how would you sum up this dream if we were, you know, forced to sum it up?
Yeah, my solution is that, like you say, wherever he goes, there he is. He's going to have to ground the hamster world somehow. You know, when you're young and you're unattached, if you do travel, let's say you do get attached and you do get a girlfriend, sometimes you get in a situation where you can't travel anymore because you're with another person, and it's just not up to you to do something at a whimsy. You have to check in with the other person. It's not as easy to travel and do things spontaneously. So you have that. If once you miss that opportunity, it's gone. It's very difficult to get back. Just like art. If you're into doing art and you have a relationship, sometimes you get kicked out of it, and then things go by, you have some kids or whatever, and you want to get back, but you never do get back. So the point I'm trying to make is do something in the present, in the now, where the opportunity presents itself. That's how you ground out of the hamster world. If you travel, you ground out of the hamster world. If you do your art, you ground out of the hamster world. The point I'm trying to make is the hamster world's fine. It's very rich and fertile and creative, but you have to ground it in something. And you got to figure out how to do that. That's going to be your salvation. You know, that's what I think.
Yeah. It'll give you a new perspective anyway. I mean, going to Idaho, different than the one you got in St. Louis. What would you say, Tim, if you, Tim, I bet, by the way, you would make a very good analyst or counselor. I'm just saying. you do a very, I like your, anyway, go ahead.
Well, thanks. I appreciate that. I don't know if that's a diss to the profession or not, but it seems to me that what's coming up for me is maybe this is not a geographical challenge, but a developmental challenge. That whatever you do, if you unfold who you are and what makes you different, your own panoply of talents and skills and abilities, you will find your place in the world. And if not, you'll end up kind of hiding under the bed and just being upset that there aren't more possibilities. So that it seems like the dreamer is saying, don't do the male pattern, but whatever you do, unfold that rich place, that deep red chapel where all of those symbols are sparkly and not sparkly, that's not the right word, but they're alive and they're calling in some way. And only you can unfold what that is really about.
That's very good. Charles, what do you think? Now, I think that a lot of things have been brought up that we didn't even dream of when we did this. What do you think about it?
To be honest, I don't really have a whole lot to say right now. I'm
Not feeling too good. You got a headache.
yeah, but I appreciate everyone's input.
Okay, great. Well, anyway, we'll keep, maybe when you feel better next week, we can talk a little bit more about it. But anyway, let's go on to, now, Tim, I just sent a dream to everybody from Dawn, but why don't we look at Roy's dream, and then Tim, if you have a dream too, once you get it, at least we can start on it next Wednesday if you're here or whenever you are here. Okay. So Roy, do you want to read your dream about the blue car?
Okay. Let's see. Since I got kicked off, let me get it off my
Well,
Dropbox.
yeah, here, let me,
I got it.
I've got,
Here it is. I got it. Okay. I had this back in April of 2018, so it's kind of old, but it's interesting. It has a part in it that reminds me of Charles, Red Church. Okay, I was waiting in a field for my father to come. We were going fishing. To the north was a series of hills with mowed grass. It came down to meet together and form a small lake like you would find on a farm. The water was clear and I knew fish would be there. I laid down to sleep. I say, sort of strange going to sleep in a dream. A car woke me up. It was a blue car with a man in it with dark hair and maybe in his 30s. He reminded me of what we call hoods or greasers when I was a kid. He went zooming on by, probably to the west, and did not even notice me. Then I decided to go exploring. I went south to a precipice. It dropped down to a ravine where there was a waterfall and a spring. I explored on down the ravine that expanded to the east. It was a forgotten land between roads and where people rarely ventured. I came back to the waterfall and I saw a cave under the fall. It was filled with religious paraphernalia. It did not mean anything to me. I went on my way.
wow. Yeah, it does remind me of Charles' dream. So anyway, let's go over this. It's the blue car. It's interesting to always read the title because that usually means outside. Now we're waiting in a field for my father to come. Okay, I was waiting in the field. We were going to go fishing. To the north, there was a series of hills with mowed grass that came down to meet together and form a small lake you would find on a farm. So to the north, there is a series of hills with mowed grass, or would you say this isn't mowed like a golf course, is it? It's
No,
just,
you have a bush hog on the tractor. It was bush hog.
yeah, but is it like a meadow or what? It's just
I don't know. They don't have this in the Midwest, but where I'm from in the foothills of Virginia, it's just a lot of hills. The mountains, they come down into the foothills, and so they bush hog them. And so, they're not mowed like a golf course. The grass is probably about 6-7 inches high.
Okay. Yeah, just enough so it doesn't get weedy and thickety.
Yeah.
So it's full of thickets.
Right.
Okay. And they come down, meet together. So there's sort of a convergence of the hills of the north. And they meet together and they form a small lake. So they're really mountains somewhat surrounding the lake on three sides, or hills?
Hills.
Yeah, surrounding the.
You can see the mountains from the hills in the distance, the Blue Ridge Mountains.
Okay, so the hills are kind of just forming a lake at their convergence. Okay, Now the water was very transparent, and we knew that they would contain contents, some kind of contents in this very clear water. Now, so now we're waiting for the Father to come. So we were going to go fishing, but we can't go fishing right now. So you're actually waiting for your Father near the lake of the North Hills, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. And so the convergence of the North Hills, and we go to sleep. So we're by the unconscious, the lake of the very transparent lake, which represents the unconscious. We know that it's full of contents and the Father is going to come down and help us, and we're going to try to pull contents out of the unconscious. Yet we're waiting for the Father to come, and so then we lie down next to the lake, and we fall asleep. Okay, and then what woke us up was a blue car with a man in it. Okay, the blue car, usually it was representing a function, would be the thinking function. Has a man in it with dark hair, maybe in his 30s. Remind me of what we called hoods or greasers when I was a kid. So he's a, so is he sort of a 1950s tough guy?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. So he's
West Side Story type of stuff.
Yeah, he's got, his T-shirt rolled
yeah.
up with a
Yeah.
pack of cigarettes.
Yeah, like that.
Yeah. And so so he reminded me of a place. He went zooming on by, probably to the west. You're very directional in these dreams. So he's going to the west. So he's driving by the lake, and he's driving to the west. So if we're looking to the north, he's going to the left-hand side. And he did not even seem to notice me. Okay. So, this is just a strange visitation. Yet the dream is called the blue car. So now we go south to a precipice. The north is these hills that converge around a lake. In the south, there is a precipice, and it dropped down to a ravine where there was a waterfall and a spring. Now, did these run into that lake of the North Hills?
No, this
No,
was
okay,
more south,
Yeah, on the other side.
down from the hills.
Yeah, so we go up to a high place, and then we descend into here we had before we had a still water. Over here we have two kinds of water. One that falls off a high place, and another one that bubbles up from a low place. Okay, all right. So it's sort of the meeting of the upper and the lower were unconscious. I mean, it's the water that falls from a high place, and then the water that bubbles up from underground caves. And we explored down the ravine that expands to the east. Okay, so we went to the north. The man in the blue car went to the west. Then we go to the south, and then we go to the east. This was a forgotten land between roads where people rarely ventured. And I came back to the waterfall, and I saw a cave under the fall. It was filled with religious relics. They didn't mean anything to me, and I went on my way. Whew. This is such a, all these images really speak to me, but let me just say them one more time. So we explore, so we went to the south to a high place, then it drops down into the place where the water that comes from from the high place and the water that comes from the low place meet. Now, when we go to the east, we go to the forgotten land, the foreign land, between roads, between the ways of being, there lies a forgotten land where people rarely venture. Once we have explored that region and come back, suddenly at that point, we see a hidden place under the fall that's filled with religious relics. Yet there's nothing there that interests us, and we go on our way. It's a lot there, Roy. This is a dream filled
Yeah,
with,
yes,
yeah,
it is. Yes, it is.
with possibilities. Tim, do you have anything to say about it, or I mean, this is something I would want to sit down with a pen and think about.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff here. One thing that strikes me is I think it says something about balance, because you've got all four directions and each one of them has a significance. And I'm so kind of subsumed in the Lakota symbolism that I always think of Lakota directions. But it'd be interesting to hear what you have to say about the meaning of the four directions. Can you enlighten us on that, Roy?
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Oh, the meeting of the four directions.
Well, I mean,
Sound like a crossroads.
I mean, do you have a particular association with the four directions in a kind of?
Oh yeah, they're very
way?
symbolic. North is sort of a place for me for, it's sort of a place that there's really heavy duty knowledge, very heavy duty knowledge, which is very clear and sharp. It's sort of a little scary for me. I go there sometimes and I'm sort of attracted to it, but it's a very serious place. The South is, party time, like south of the border. The East, of course, is rebirth. And the West, for me, is like the ancestors.
So,
Yeah,
so the guy in the blue car is sort of a shallow masculine figure, and he's going off in the direction of the ancestors. The ravine is leading off into the kind of the wilderness and the place of rebirth. And I was kind of confused about the precipice. Did you find yourself at the top of the precipice, or you just saw it on your way to the waterfall?
No, I went down to the bottom of the precipice, down to the floor where the spring was.
So there's no danger of you like falling off or anything like that?
Well, if I was on the top, it would be, but not at the bottom. I went down, carefully, and I was down at the bottom. Then I went east.
Yeah, that seems like a rather delicate accomplishment, being able to get down off a high place without hurting yourself and without plummeting.
I have a lot of practice doing that. I used to go down in ravines a lot.
Huh. So it just seems like there are all these possibilities laid out. So you go by the spring, the water coming up and the water coming down, but there's no awareness of that cave until the second time when you come through. So you're coming back toward the west again and you see that cave full of images.
Yeah.
And just like in Charles' dream, it seems like that's full of unexplored possibilities. Even if it's not interesting, it's still the place on the other side of the unconscious where there's a possibility for some kind of development. I think that's all I got.
Yeah. What do you, Charles, do you have any comments? I know you don't feel too good, but.
I'm just curious, Roy, why you chose this dream.
That's a
Seemed
good,
like it was picked quite specifically, seeing that it's a couple years old and all that. And I was just curious about that.
Yeah, I picked it because I was going to show y'all a little bit about the shadow.
mhm. The blue car. Yeah. See now, yeah, let me go over. I just wanted to show a little bit about. Did you have anything else, Charles?
No, that's all.
Okay. All right. Well, first of all, I know this is a dream I know that I want to sit down with and really study. But here's an example of a medicine wheel. The north is the winter, the evening, whiteness and spirit, and sweetgrass, of course, is somewhat of a hallucinogenic, I think. And then
Well,
the go
it's
ahead.
not a hallucinogen. It's like incense.
Yeah, it's incense that you have while you're meditating.
You
Yeah.
burn it. You burn
Yeah.
it to take your prayers up to heaven,
Yes.
up to the
Okay.
Great Spirit.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. And then the west, you have sage and autumn, evening, adult, black, and emotion. Of course, it also usually represents the night sea journey. Because where does the sun go when it goes below the horizon? No one used to know that. So what happened to it? And do we do that too? We go down and it is dark in the conscious world, and we're under the world, in the underworld. And then we come up in the morning in the east. And the east is the place of spring, morning, youth, yellow, and mind. So spirit, emotion, mind, and then the bottom, the south, is cedar, summer, noon. So you got youth, adolescence in the south, and adult in the west, and then elder in the north. So anyway, that's a medicine wheel. But let's just go over this real quickly. And yeah, if you could get a dream, and we'll have Dawn's too, but it's going to take us a while to go over Roy's dream. And in fact, we might even want to read a couple of Dawn's dreams, because I don't think I'm going to be able to get it tonight. But let's just summarize it really quickly. So first, we're in a field waiting for the Father. Okay. We're just there all by ourselves. That we never meet the Father. There's just this anticipation of the ancestral paternal world joining us in a field, and we're going to draw up contents from the unconscious. And the north area of the elders, according to the medicine wheel, I would always think of the west, but it is forms a small lake where the contents are. The water is unbelievably clear, so there's clarity here, and so we knew fish would be here, and yet since we're there all ourselves. The dream ego's there all by itself. It's just sitting there waiting for the paternal world to show up. There's nothing to do. So it falls asleep. So think of that in the dream, we're asleep by the still lake, sleeping in the meadow. It's just a beautiful image right there. You could stop there and it'd be a beautiful dream, Okay, but then suddenly, going towards the west is a blue car. Now, what is your, do you know your psychological type, Roy? I never heard it.
It
Okay, well,
could
don't
be
worry about it.
INJ, INFP, something like
Yeah,
that.
I think you're probably, I don't know, but the thinking, at least the shadow, seems to be related to the thinking function. One of the things that tells us it's probably the thinking function is he's a smart ass. He thinks he knows everything. He's one of these, uh, smart ass hood type guys that's got, he knows everything. Your world is you guys don't know anything. He's got all the answers, and yet he just drives by. He doesn't even notice us. But the one thing he does do is he awakes us from our slumber. Okay. Well, we're not going fishing, obviously. So we start to explore. We go to the south, and we go to the south. First, there's a ascent, and then there's a descent. So first we go up, and from what we found something when we went up, and then we went down. Then we find this very mysterious place of of water coming from the unconscious, falling from a high place, and the unconscious coming up from a low place and meeting. Now, can you describe that at all, Roy? The spring and the waterfall?
Well, in the hills of Virginia, there's lots of springs. They just come up out of the ground, and you can be following a creek, and another spring will come up on down the creek somewhere out of the bank. And
Is the spring forming the waterfall?
No.
Okay.
It's like a creek, and then it drops off the precipice down in a ravine. That's the waterfall, and then I'm below the waterfall on the creek that the waterfall goes into or forms. I'm just down a little bit. I can see the waterfall, but I'm east of it, and a spring's there.
One time, Young had a spring at Bollingen, and his Marie-Louise von Franz was helping him because he always liked it to run into the lake so he could hear gurgling water at night, and so they're digging a ravine so the water can gurgle into the lake. And as they're working, Young looks up at von Franz and says, "This is what I spent my whole life doing, digging out springs." The unconscious that comes from below, he tries to find a release for it, so, but anyway, there's the water that comes up from below and the water that comes, so it's a very mysterious place. That's in the south. Okay. The north is the hills. The west is the place where the smartasses go, and the south is a very mysterious place. It seems to be where the upper and the lower meet. Okay. Somehow we go off to the east. There we discover the forgotten land that no one rarely goes to. And yet it seems after we've been to the forgotten land, and which I would say the forgotten land in the East, if it was really mythical, and I'm not saying this is a really mythical image, but that it would be the realm of rebirth, something to do with the rising sun, at least, the morning, the dawn, what comes up in the morning, that magical moment of the sun appearing, but that's also called the forgotten land. It's between two roads, so there's this aspect. There's a road here, there's a road here, no one ever goes here. It's forgotten land, sort of a wasteland, yet we go there. It doesn't say what we did, but
there's that pure, wonderful, cool water coming out of the ground.
Right, yes, there. Right. It's I came back to And then we come back. So now, let's just go through what we've had. We fall asleep because the father never shows up. So now we're falling asleep near the place of the unconscious. The father never shows up. We were going to bring contents out of the unconscious. We can't do it. So we just fall asleep. Suddenly we're awakened by the smartass who's going to the west. This seems to be the shadow, wakes us up. And then we don't have anything else to do. We're not going to fish. So we go to the south, and then we go to the east, and then we come back to the south again. And when we go to the south, we discover the upper water meets the water that comes from the depths. And then we go to the east, the forgotten land, and we come back and we discover a hidden place behind the water that comes from above. And it is filled with really the realm of images. I mean, I think that's what's in the Charles dream. It's just this altar of dream images. This is the storehouse that the dream maker uses to write our dreams, and it's behind this sheet of unconscious water. Think of all the different things water can do. This is a sheet of water that falls, and behind it is where the dream maker lives. I mean, this is where the dream maker pulls its stuff out of. The lake over here, we could pull unconscious contents out of. It's very clear. Here, we can walk behind the unconscious, and the unconscious contents are behind it in a cave, So there's sort of an analogy between the spring that comes up from below, the lake with the fish, the very clear lake with the fish in it. And this is the one behind. Okay, now all of this tied together is going to say something very profound, but I don't know what it is yet. Roy, did you have any thoughts about this dream that you could add?
Oh yeah. Okay, this was my take. And a lot of my dreams, remember when I went up in the truck, and then I got out and I went exploring. I have this in a lot of dreams where I go exploring in a landscape. And sometimes, I can't cover too much turf, and I fly, because you can cover a lot of territory when you fly. I have a lot of dreams like that. So this is kind of one of those dreams where I'm exploring, very adventurous. I'm exploring. And I went every direction, and I saw something in each direction. But the thing that fascinated me was the blue car and the guy in it. He had all the libido. He was going somewhere. He had focus. He had intention. He didn't pay any attention to me. I was nothing. It reminded me in Memory, Dreams, and Reflections, when Jung was talking about this Arab or something in North Africa that was coming by him, and he tried to get his attention to something, and the Arab just totally ignored him because he was such in an old world that he was just pure intention. Whatever he was going to do, that's all that he saw and was focused on, and he didn't see Jung at all. It kind of reminded me of that. That was what the dream was speaking to me, was that's my shadow. That's my shadow. I want to know this person. Everything else I discovered paled next to that. That's where it was. That's what I wanted to seek.
So do you think this is more of a saving figure than a shadow figure?
No, it's my shadow.
Yeah.
And its glorious form, in one of its glorious forms, it usually is theuromorphic.
Yes,
but it took a human form this time.
Well, yeah, it's sort of the. Do you think it is in a leading role for the ego? I mean, is showing the ego the way at all?
Yeah, it was showing my ego the way.
Yeah. I mean, the way, because it was so focused, so intent. Now, this,
It was so alive.
yeah, can
What
you,
else was alive in a dream? I even went to sleep.
yeah,
What
that's
woke
what I
me
was gonna
up?
say.
What woke me up? This man woke me up.
Yeah, you can contrast it with the dream ego's attitude in the dream
Hmm.
of sleeping by the lake. Okay, so one of the things it did, this great, until this man of great focus drove by in the blue car. Now, the blue car could either represent the celestial spheres, or it could represent the logos or thinking function. When it zooms by, with this sort of a character, let's not call him a smart aleck. Let's just call him a very bold figure, a figure of great self-confidence and high self-esteem and focus and intention. Okay, it goes by. Now it wakes up the sleeping dream ego, which is a little too sleepy, sleeps in its own dreams, you know and at that point, okay, after that happens, it is suddenly has moved into a attitude of self-discovery. Okay, so now what it's discovering from then on, it's discovering in itself. Okay, it goes to the south and it makes an ascent. This is Hermes, makes an ascent, and when after he gets up to the top, he says that he knew he shouldn't stay there. His strength was perfected when he returns to the earth, but he needed to go up. Okay, so it makes an ascent and then he makes a descent. So in our discovery mode, we discover the ascent and we discover the upper and the lower, and we find out that the upper and the lower meet. The upper falls from down into the depths, and in the depths, the water rises up to the surface. So we're seeing the water that falls into the depths, and we're seeing the water that comes up from the depths to the surface at the same place. Okay, and then we go to the forgotten land. This is our second pilgrimage of discovery. We go to the forgotten land. Doesn't say what really happened there, but at least we behold it. We behold the forgotten lands of rebirth. Okay. Now, after we beheld the forgotten lands of rebirth, and we come back to this place of our initial discovery, of where the waters from above fall down into the depths and the waters from below come up to the surface, we suddenly, there's more differentiation, and we notice something behind the water that flows into the depths. And what we notice there is the place where the dream maker resides in us. And that is his place full of symbols, full of the same thing that is in the altar. Each one, I wish Charles told you everything he found in there, because he just kept going on and on. Angel wings, bones of saints, spirals, sun wheels, all this is what you're finding behind the waterfall in the cave. It's all of these things, So, but yet now, okay. So you were woken up from your sleep by this very bold man of intention. You go on to a realm of self-discovery. But after you've discovered some pretty unusual things, what do? What's the last line of the dream?
Didn't mean nothing to me.
It didn't mean nothing to me. I went on my way. Where did you go?
I just went back up the hill And I don't know where I went from there. I woke up.
Why do you think the dream would show you all of this and then it didn't mean anything to you?
Because it doesn't. I mean, it means a lot to Charles and it means a lot to you, but they were dead. These are just dead things. You have to bring them alive.
Mm-hmm.
Who was bringing something alive in the dream? Where was the
Man
life in
with
the
the
dream?
intention.
Yeah.
All right, there you go. Okay.
So my
So-
question is, if I were you, I'd spend some time writing maybe to this guy. And what is it about this figure that he appears in that particular form? It's a really curious form, because I think about those, you know, greaser types, the West Side Story types, as being sort of the cool guys from high school that can't move beyond that world. You know, they don't have enough expertise or development or authority or anything to move beyond that. And so it just seems really curious to me that that would be the character that brings the energy and the impetus.
Well, I was born in 1950. So there were a couple greasers or hoods in my hometown. One of them's name was Butch Evans. Another one's name was Stanley Palmer. And they would be called delinquents. And everybody gave them hell. You know, they did very poorly in school. They were always in detention. They were such nonconformists. They were just they had such wherever they were coming from, there was no way they were going to change, and they didn't. They were able to get outside of normal society. They were able to get out of the status quo, which is a tremendous thing in the 50s. I mean, we had McCarthy and all that paranoia and Cuba stuff and all kind of crap. And these hoods were like totally outside of that. I mean, how did they do that? And everybody's still biased towards them even today. Nobody understands them. To me, that type of character was just fascinating. It was just fascinating. And it took that form in my dream. That's why it took that form in my dream, I think, because, you know, waiting for my father, at the beginning, I sort of regressed into the past. And then this thing woke me up out of the past, which was the hood. And I said, I had a certain fascination with those people. I had two of them that were my friends and they liked me. Sometimes they'd take me for a ride in their car. And so I woke up out of my regression with this thing from the past that was alive. This was something from the past that was alive. It was the only lively thing in the dream. And that's the fascination of the dream to me. I mean, that really put it together. That's what it is for me.
Yeah, what's missing in the dream. And Tim, do you have any more comments about it? Yeah, you know. Well, what's missing in the dream is the and what we find from the dream is that the man the going to the west, the blue car, is the one who is what's missing in our life. You know, all this other just this sort of pastoral scenes that we're encountering is not going to get us anywhere.
And an alter ego, it's full of life.
Right. It's a very good, I'm going to spend a little time on this. Now, Dawn sent her dream. I sent it out to everybody. And Tim, if you have a dream, I thought, well, you could do it. You don't have, if you're not here next time, we'll do it the following time. But particularly if you have any recent dreams, I mean, they're going to be very helpful. This is quite a saga that you have going here, Tim.
Yeah,
you know, I think.
Okay.
And,
sure enough.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, thanks everybody. And Dawn, I'll get going on your dream next time. And thank you for your comments. And thank you, Charles, too. So we'll find out more about Charles too. So, Thank
All right,
you, everybody.
Take care.
Yeah, thanks, Tim and Roy, Don.